Ryan and the Angel. Is your mom going to totally flip when she sees your new hair color? Paige asked as she pulled a clear plastic produce bag over Ryan's head and secured it with a paper clip. I don't know, I never went blonde before, but hey, you only live once, right? Ryan said as he smiled at the thought of his mom's face when she saw him blonde for the first time. Well, let me clean up this mess and open up a window already. This stuff stinks, Paige said and snapped off a latex glove, turned to the kitchen sink with bowl, combs, and a plastic spoon. Paige couldn't wait to see Ryan's new look. She knew his mom was cool, a cool old gal who was something in her day herself from what Paige remembered as a kid. Esther was particularly lenient on Ryan since his dad had died of cancer when he was 9. That was a tragic time in Ryan's life. He missed having a father, but his mom had always worked hard to raise him and had done an exceptional job. Okay, how many minutes? Ryan asked as he looked into the hand mirror and tried to see through the produce bag. 2 more minutes. Time to head to the shower, Paige said with a big smile, and hurry back. While Ryan was back in his room in the shower, Paige raided her best friend's refrigerator and pulled out a slice of pepperoni pizza, taking the first bite as Ryan's cell phone rang. Hello, Paige answered. Is Ryan Simmons there, please? Sure, who's calling? My name is Valerie Monaco. Okay, 1 moment, Paige said and placed the phone on the kitchen counter and yelled into Ryan's bedroom for him. Ryan, it's your girlfriend, someone named Valerie. You've been holding out on me. Moments later, Ryan returned to the kitchen, his streaked hair dripping on his green bathrobe, which was wrapped tightly around his wet body. I don't know anyone named Valerie, Ryan said, secretly admiring Paige's beauty in a moment that caught him off guard. The sunlight over the kitchen sink window came across her blue eyes just so, but he dare not tell her how stunning she looked. He knew that would only provoke her to mock him and belittle his adoration in a teasing way, which he grew to understand was her polite way of pushing him away. She surely didn't feel for him the way he felt for her, but the older he got, the more difficult it was becoming to resist Paige, but resist he did. Uh-huh, sure you don't know Valerie, but she knows you, Paige said teasingly. This is Ryan. Ryan, this is Valerie Monaco. I'm a nurse at East River Hospital. Ryan, there's been an accident. It's your mom. You should get here as quickly as possible. What kind of accident? How bad is she? Ryan asked as Paige got goosebumps and walked over to him. Your mom is in critical condition. There was an auto accident and your mom is seriously injured. She's in a coma right now. You need to get here as soon as possible. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Tell my mom I'm on the way, Ryan said and hung up, stunned. Ryan, your mom? What happened? My mom was in a car accident. I'll call you later. Would you feed Maggie for me in an hour or so? Make sure she's in for the night in case I'm not back. You know where we keep the dog food. I appreciate it, Paige, Ryan said as he already forgot about his new hair color. Yes, of course. Stay as long as you want. I'll let her out and feed her until you get back. Tell Esther I said hello and I send my best wishes. Thanks, Paige. You're the best, Ryan said as he scurried to his room to dress and leave. In less than 15 minutes, Ryan was at the emergency room desk. My mom, Esther Simmons, she was in an accident. I want to see her. I'm her son, Ryan. Okay, come with me, Ryan, the nurse said gently. He followed the nurse to a small room with nothing but a desk and 3 chairs. Ryan was confused, and something told him this was not a good sign. Moments later, the nurse returned with a small Asian woman in green scrubs, a white lab coat, and glasses that looked too large for her face. Where the hell's my mom? Ryan asked forcefully. Ryan, I am Dr. Aoki. Your mom was in a tragic auto accident, the small woman said as she closed the door. She made it to the hospital, and we had an entire trauma team work on her, but the injury to her brain... What do you mean? My mom died? Ryan asked as he felt himself float into another dimension where everything seemed to coast into slow motion. He felt his senses numb. He knew he was going into shock. There was no turning back. I'm so sorry. We did everything we could. Ryan, he heard his Aunt Clara's voice at the door. Ryan, Paige called me. How is Esther? Ryan didn't know what to say or what to do but to run to Clara's arms and cry like he'd never cried before. She didn't make it. The doctor stood quietly nearby as the family members digested the news. I want to see her. I want to see my mom, Ryan said, with as much courage as he could muster. He didn't know if he really wanted to see her, but he did want to see her. He didn't know what he wanted. You are certainly allowed to see her, but I would not recommend it. She suffered severe head injuries and will not look as you remember her. Again, we are very sorry for your loss, the doctor said and quietly left the room. Aunt Clara, don't I have any rights? She's my mom, Ryan said as he sunk into a hard chair. His whole body was hot and sticky, his eyes burned. Please, take the doctor's advice, Ryan. I want to see her too, but let's wait until we see her at the funeral home. We don't know how badly she was injured, and we want to remember her as she was. Let's just take a few moments to try to process all this. Please, Ryan, I need some time too. Let's try to process this for a few minutes, okay? Clara asked as she too had entered the shock dimension. I'm sorry, Aunt Clara. She was your sister. I'm sorry for being insensitive. You have nothing to apologize for, Clara said quietly and burst into tears. Ryan slid his chair next to hers and placed his arm around her shoulders. They cried together for what seemed like hours, not budging from the room close to where Esther had died. Why don't you come to the farm with me, Ryan? I don't want you to be alone at your house. You need family right now, and I'm all the family that you have. Come on. You can stay in the blue room. I guess you have really no place else to go. That settles it. You're coming home with me. If you'll have me. You mean if you'll have me, Ryan said, and then burst into another round of deep, deep sobbing into her shoulder. I can't move. I don't want to leave. I want to see my mom. I'm only 15. I need my parents now more than ever, Ryan yelled into the collar of Clara's shirt, and Clara too began a new round of tears on top of the old ones that hadn't dried yet. As Ryan and Clara eventually climbed into her pickup truck, they both sat momentarily. You're going to be okay, Ryan. We'll get through this together, and I want you to stay with me, as it should be, Clara said softly. Is this really happening? Am I having a nightmare? This doesn't feel real, Aunt Clara. It all happened so fast, Ryan said as Clara started the truck and slowly backed out of the hospital parking spot. Aunt Clara's farm was old but comfortable, like a worn-in tennis shoe. He had so many good memories of good country food, fresh air, and playing with the Amish kids who lived a half a mile up the road. If he couldn't be with his mom, then Aunt Clara's was the next best place to be. Besides, she had animals, and especially intriguing were the horses. 3 beautiful Arabians, which Ryan had known most of his life. They too were like family to him. Ryan, I put towels and fresh linens in the blue room, Aunt Clara said to Ryan, who sat on the front steps still in shock. Can I bring Maggie out here? Paige is taking care of her for me, but I want to see them both right away. Yes, of course. We'll go into town tomorrow and see them and get some of your things. Clara thought of how difficult it would be for Ryan to go home now, a home where his mother would never return. If Ryan felt he was ready to go to the house, then Aunt Clara would take him. It would be his decision to make. Would you like me to call Paige and let her know? Yes, I don't think I can say the words just yet, Aunt Clara. I don't think I can do it, Ryan said as his throat closed up with intense emotional pain. The next day, Ryan barely remembered dinner or going to bed the night before. He mostly remembered that he and Aunt Clara were quiet and heartbroken, only going through the motion of caring for their bodies while their hearts had somehow managed not to explode under excruciating pain. As Aunt Clara pulled into his driveway, he saw Maggie's face at the fence. She had no idea of how her world was about to change, too. Paige said she would meet us here. She had to drive her sister to ballet practice, but should be here shortly. Shall we go inside and get some things? Yes, the sooner the better. I want to get out of here, Ryan said as he stepped out of the truck and walked to the gate to greet Maggie. As Ryan opened the side door to the kitchen, he remembered how his mom would say something like, "Ryan, dinner's almost ready. Go wash your hands." But now that voice was gone, silenced forever, never to be heard again. As he stepped into the kitchen, he saw everything that belonged to his mom, her dish towels, her pans. There were even a few dirty dishes in the sink. Everything at his house looked so normal. How would he ever process the fact that his life had changed so dramatically, so permanently, so fast? Aunt Clara gave Ryan space as he walked hesitantly down the hallway to his bedroom, avoiding looking into his mom's bedroom on the way. Clara resisted the urge to wash a few dishes in the sink while she waited. Changing anything in Ryan's house might be a wrong move, considering his sensitive emotional state. So she put water in Esther's tea kettle, as she had so often done, and sat at the dining room table. "Clara?" Paige said gently as Clara came to. "Oh my gosh, I didn't even hear you come in," Clara said as tears filled her eyes at the sight of yet another love in Esther's life. Paige had grown up with Esther and Ryan. "I'm so sorry, Clara," Paige said gently as Clara rose to hug her. The two of them sobbed together, both in equal disbelief that Esther would not be coming in the side door ever again. "Ryan wants to see you. He's in his room packing some things. Like I was saying on the phone, he's going to take Maggie out to my place. I don't have to tell you that you're always welcome to stop by any time, and I hope you do, often. Ryan needs you now more than ever." "Yes, thank you. I will be there. Ryan is my very best all-time friend, and that won't change. I'll help him. I'll help you both. Anything I can do to help," Paige said, and excused herself. She moved quickly to Ryan's room and tapped on the door. "Hey, buddy," she said softly. "Paige," Ryan said and ran to her open arms. Her hair was almost black, and she had the most penetrating blue eyes. She almost looked exotic, and Ryan figured in about 5 or 6 more years she would grow into a real beauty. She would make someone a very happy man someday. A kiss wasn't worth intruding upon her comfort level for, and he couldn't believe he even thought of kissing her at a time like this. Heck, she still peed in his bathroom without closing the door. Ryan never wanted to cause a barrier to go up between them. He was the first to release their embrace. "I love you, Ryan. I'm here for you," Paige said softly as she looked up into his eyes and stroked the newly blonde hair on the side of his head. It seemed as if she were touching pain itself, and in a way, she was. "My parents send their condolences." "Tell them thank you for me," Ryan said as he wiped his nose and went back to his dresser. 2 large suitcases and a box lay on his bed as he worked quickly to fill them with everything he needed. "I'm pretty numb, Paige. Should I be numb?" "You be whatever you need to be right now. There's no right or wrong. Everyone deals with things differently. I imagine that being numb is pretty normal. I think it helps protect you until you can really take everything in." "That was a nice thing to say. I feel guilty for being numb, but I can't help it. I'm afraid to go to her funeral. I don't want to say goodbye." "I understand that, Ryan, and I don't blame you. I feel the same way in my own way." "She never got to see your blonde hair," Paige said and managed a smile. Ryan burst into laughter for the first time since the accident, and it felt wonderful. "You're going to be okay. It's just going to take time. You'll never ever get over her, but with time the pain will lessen just enough so that you can keep breathing. I promise. Me, your Aunt Clara, and Maggie, we're going to help you now. You're a beautiful friend, Paige. You always have been. You're so wise for your years. Can you come out to the farm with me and Aunt Clara today?" "You betcha. Anything you want." "I wanted to come out, but I wasn't going to invite myself. Not yet," Paige said, trying another smile for Ryan, which didn't catch on this time. "I have to pick up my sister at ballet practice in an hour, and then I'll be out. My parents are... Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. You have parents. You can talk about them. I understand," Ryan said. "So I think that's everything except Maggie. So I'll see you in an hour or so?" "I'll be there. Ryan, I don't know what I was going to say except I'm so sorry for you." "It's okay. I'll be okay. I'll see you in a bit," Ryan said as he closed the suitcases and picked them up. Out at the farm, Ryan set suitcases and his box of knickknacks on his new bed. He quietly moved down the stairs and to the back screen door and headed toward the horse pasture. Beamer, Knuckles, and Mira, and a new horse that Ryan didn't recognize, spotted Ryan immediately. Ryan knew that horses are as alert as dogs in this sense. After making their observations, the horses went back to grazing the tender early summer grass. The tire swing under the oak tree was too small for Ryan to sit in anymore, so he sat against the old granddaddy trunk and tried to ground himself. It had only been just over 24 hours since the accident. It was Saturday, which meant his mom would have been home, probably asking him to mow the grass before he ran off any place. But he didn't care about the grass, the mail, or even the house itself. If he did, it would most assuredly hurt too much. He didn't dare care. Maggie slipped up next to Ryan and lay next to him with a huff. Ryan huffed too, as the future looked impossible to him. Just then he saw movement at the end of Aunt Clara's long driveway. It was Paige. "Yes," Ryan said with relief, and Maggie lifted her head to observe him. "Paige, back here!" Ryan yelled as Maggie ran to greet her. The three of them took a long walk together. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. They knew each other so well that when words were burdensome, they were comfortable to avoid them altogether. The little group sat at the edge of the stream behind Aunt Clara's woods and quietly fidgeted with blades of grass. "If you stay here at your aunt's, you'll still be able to go to River High." "I know." "What are you going to do about your house?" "My Aunt Clara will help me sell it and will put the equity into a college fund for me. She's going to take care of all of that. My mom had a will for some reason and everything's taken care of, except the sale, which Aunt Clara will handle for me." "That's wonderful. I mean, at least there's a plan." Ryan petted Maggie as he thought of the last conversation he had with his mother. She had fried his favorite pork cutlets, and after dinner she just casually said, "Lock the house up for me when you head to bed. I'm going to take a bubble bath and retire, little star." So bedtime became synonymous with my little star. And with that, she walked down the hallway to her bedroom, and that was the last time he ever saw her. She had already left for work the next morning when Ryan had finally gotten out of bed. "I'm not feeling so good. I'm going to head in. Thanks for coming out, Paige. I guess I'll see you at the funeral tomorrow." "I'll be there with you." "Thanks, Paige. I'll walk you back to your car," Ryan said as tears slipped down his cheeks. After Paige left, Ryan walked slowly to the barn where his aunt was feeding the horses. He wished he could be alone with the horses, and somehow Aunt Clara must have sensed that because she didn't make irritating small talk. She just asked Ryan to shut the lights off when he left the barn. He looked out the window to see his aunt walking slowly to the house and remember that she was grieving too. "My little star," he heard his mother's voice inside his heart. "Mom," he said and squeezed his eyes shut, trying to hold back a total meltdown. "Oh, Beamer," Ryan eventually said softly to the big-eyed chestnut beauty in the center of the stall. Beamer looked momentarily at Ryan, then pulled another tuft of hay from his feeder and munched contentedly. "You remember my mom, Beamer? She was your Aunt Esther. She was in a car accident." "She died! Beamer, my mom died! She's gone! She can never come back out here again. She died, Beamer," Ryan said a little louder, and Beamer came to his stall door to inspect Ryan. "My mom is gone, Beamer! There, I said it! I said it to you! My mom is dead," Ryan said in a flurry of emotion and pulled the stall door open. As if Beamer understood that Ryan was in deep pain, he nudged Ryan's hair with his soft muzzle and stayed close. Ryan threw his arms around the strong neck of his old favorite horse friend and cried until he dropped to his knees. Beamer lowered his head and nudged Ryan's shoulder as if to say, "Hey, Ryan, you must be torn up. I'm so sorry, I didn't know." At least that's what Ryan would have wanted him to say. The tears didn't stop. Ryan pulled himself to the side wall of the horse stall and wept privately. Beamer went back to his hay, but stood strangely still. He had quit eating, probably because the new activity in his stall was both mystifying and unusual, but Ryan sensed that Beamer understood that he was in deep pain and needed a friend. Just then, Beamer walked slowly to Ryan and hung his head next to his face and seemed to go to sleep. Was this his way of comforting a friend? Of course it was. The spell broke when Maggie came running into the barn and up to the crack of the stall door. She wagged her tail as Ryan slowly moved his swollen red eyes to her. He was thankful he had so many friends, both two-legged and four-legged. The next day, Paige and her parents were at the funeral home when Ryan and his aunt arrived. The service was beautiful, with all of his mom's favorite flowers, and her friends gathered, paying their last respects. Aunt Clara was right again. When Ryan viewed his mom, she was wearing her favorite dress, and she had a soft smile on her face as if she were saying, "I'm happy where I am, Ryan. Please don't worry about me. Remember our happy times. I will see you again someday. I love you." The next day, when Paige arrived at noon, Ryan, Paige, and Aunt Clara carried on a nearly normal conversation for the first time since the accident. Life sounds began to sound a little normal again. Conversations became a little more comfortable. It took Ryan about 9 months until he could get through a meal or a ride into town without thinking of his mother. He remembered Aunt Clara's words. "Your mom would not want you to suffer this way. She would want you to heal and to live and always remember her, but not with so much pain." 9 months of Beamer, the other horses, Maggie, Paige, and Aunt Clara, and a simple life in general gave Ryan the space he needed to begin healing. Ryan's mom's house did sell, and he got a significant college fund and a little left over to help him afterward. In college, he majored in psychology and opened a family grief center. Shortly after graduation, Ryan and Paige married. Ryan placed a large tin star on the side of Aunt Clara's barn in his mother's memory. The end.